In 2017, Universal Pictures had a plan, not just to make a movie, but to build an empire. They looked at what Marvel had done with the Avengers and thought, we can do that too. We've got Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, characters that have been around since the 1930s, characters that practically invented the shared universe before anyone even had a name for it. All Universal needed was a launch pad, one massive blockbuster to kick the whole thing off and prove the concept. So, they spent $125 million. They hired Tom Cruise, one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. They assembled a cast that included Russell Crowe, Sophia Boutella, and Annabelle Wallis. They branded the whole initiative the Dark Universe, complete with its own logo, its own Danny Elfman musical theme, and a roster of future films already announced with A-list talent attached. Johnny Depp was going to be the Invisible Man. Javier Bardem was lined up for Frankenstein's monster. Angelina Jolie was circling Bride of Frankenstein. And then, The Mummy came out.
What the hell?
It earned a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. It made $80 million domestically on a film that cost roughly $345 million to produce and market. And within months, the entire Dark Universe was dead. Every planned sequel, every announced casting, every ambitious crossover, gone. All of it wiped out by a single film that couldn't figure out what it wanted to be. This is how one movie killed an entire cinematic universe before it even started. To understand how The Mummy went so wrong, you have to go back to where the idea started. Universal had been trying to relaunch its classic monsters for years. They attempted it with 2010's The Wolfman, which underperformed. They tried again with 2014's Dracula Untold, which was originally supposed to be the start of a connected universe, before the studio quietly distanced itself from it. Neither film gave them the momentum they needed. By the mid-2000s, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was printing money, and every studio in Hollywood wanted their own version. Universal figured they had an advantage nobody else did. They owned the original shared universe. Their monsters had been crossing over into each other's films since the 1940s. The blueprint was already there. Alex Kurtzman, a writer and producer known for his work on the first two Star Trek reboots and Mission Impossible 3, was brought on to develop The Mummy as the official first entry in the Dark Universe. Kurtzman was paired with Chris Morgan, who had helped revitalize the Fast and Furious franchise, to serve as co-architects of the entire shared universe. The studio gave Kurtzman the director's chair as well, despite the fact that he had only directed one feature film before this, 2012's People Like Us, a small drama starring Chris Pine that opened to mixed reviews and minimal box office. Tom Cruise entered talks to star in late 2015, and his involvement changed the trajectory of the entire production. Universal reportedly gave Cruise contractual control over most aspects of the film, from script approval to post-production decisions. He even had significant input on the marketing strategy and release date, pushing for a prime June slot in the middle of summer blockbuster season. The original screenplay went through several hands. John Spates wrote an early draft. Jenny Lumet came in for rewrites and made the notable decision to change the titular mummy from male to female, creating the character of Princess Amunet. Her goal was to humanize the villain and avoid making the antagonist evil simply for the sake of it. But once Cruise was locked in, the script began shifting in a different direction. Christopher McQuarrie, Cruise's frequent collaborator and the director of the later Mission Impossible films, was brought in alongside Dylan Kussman and David Koepp to rework the screenplay. Their rewrites expanded Cruise's role significantly, while reducing Sophia Boutella's screen time as the Mummy. They also added a plotline where Cruise's character becomes possessed, giving him a more dramatic arc. Universal was reportedly unhappy with many of these changes, but deferred to Cruise's star power and let the rewrites proceed. On set, the dynamic between Cruise and Kurtzman became the defining story of the production. Multiple sources described Cruise as functioning like the film's de facto director, dictating major action sequences, micromanaging creative decisions, and stepping in when Kurtzman struggled with the scope of a $125 million tentpole. The film's supervising art director later described it as a project split into two halves, before Tom and after Tom. Whether Cruise was saving a troubled production or making it worse depended entirely on who you asked. Some crew members felt he was the only reason the film held together at all. Others believed he was turning what was supposed to be a horror movie into a Tom Cruise action vehicle.
We are not shutting this movie down!
Either way, the result was a film that felt pulled in too many directions at once.
The chance to be able to get to do something like this is so extraordinary for me.
No.
The Mummy opened on June 9th, 2017, going up against Wonder Woman in its second weekend. It debuted to $31.7 million domestically, the lowest opening in the history of the Mummy franchise. To put that in context, the 1999 Brendan Fraser original opened to $43 million, nearly 2 decades earlier, without adjusting for inflation, on a budget of just $80 million. The 2017 version, with Tom Cruise and nearly double the budget, the domestic drop-off was steep. In its second weekend, the film fell 54%, earning $14.5 million. By its third week, it had been pulled from over 800 theaters and dropped another 60%. Domestically, the film topped out at just $80 million. Internationally, the picture was somewhat better, the largest of Cruise's career at the time. The worldwide total landed around $410 million. On paper, $410 million sounds like a lot of money, but the reported production budget of $125 million doesn't tell the full story. Multiple sources placed actual production costs closer to $195 million. And when you add in global marketing and distribution, the combined spend ballooned to roughly $345 million. Studios typically need a film to gross at least 2 to 2.5 times its combined costs just to break even. The Mummy needed to clear somewhere north of $700 million to turn a meaningful profit. Deadline Hollywood estimated the film lost Universal approximately $95 million. The critical reception was equally brutal. The film landed at 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, with an audience score of just 35%. Critics attacked the film's incoherent tone and its over-reliance on franchise setup at the expense of storytelling. One critic described it as feeling less like a movie and more like a series of compromises worked out by a corporate committee. The Rotten Tomatoes consensus summed it up bluntly. The film lacked the campy fun of the franchise's earlier entries, while failing to deliver real monster movie thrills.
The effort they've spent to make something of quality, that means a lot to me.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The Mummy's failure wasn't just about one bad movie. It was about what that movie represented, the fundamental misunderstanding of why audiences connect with certain films and certain franchises. The first and most obvious issue was the film's identity crisis. Universal wanted a horror film that could launch a cinematic universe. Tom Cruise wanted an action-adventure that showcased his talents. The studio wanted world building. The audience wanted a good standalone movie. The Russell Crowe subplot, where he plays Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde as a bridge character to future Dark Universe films, ate up a significant chunk of the second act. It had almost nothing to do with the Mummy storyline and existed purely to set up movies that would never get made. This was the exact mistake that Marvel's competitors kept making in the mid-2000s. They saw the payoff of the MCU, the team-ups, the crossover events, the billion-dollar Avengers films, and tried to skip straight to the reward without doing the foundational work first. Marvel spent 4 years building individual characters before they ever put them in a room together. Universal announced a dozen films, cast half of them, and released a group photo of all their stars before the first movie had even opened. Then there was the Tom Cruise problem. Cruise is an incredible action star, but The Mummy didn't need an action star. The 1999 Brendan Fraser version worked because Fraser brought a self-deprecating, slightly goofy charm to the material. He was in on the joke. The movie knew what it was. A pulpy, fun adventure film with horror elements, and Fraser's energy matched that perfectly. Cruise, on the other hand, plays every role like he's the most competent person in the room. That works beautifully in Mission Impossible. It doesn't work when you're supposed to be a scrappy underdog accidentally awakening an ancient evil. The mismatch between Cruise's screen presence and the material was something the film never resolved. Brendan Fraser himself later commented on what went wrong. He acknowledged how difficult it is to make a Mummy film work, but pointed to one key missing ingredient: fun. The 2017 version took itself too seriously. It wanted to be dark and intense when the material called for something lighter. The bigger strategic error was Universal's approach to the Dark Universe as a whole. They treated it like a business initiative rather than a creative one. All the branding, all the casting announcements, all the interconnected plans, none of it was backed by a single successful film. And when The Mummy crumbled, there was nothing underneath to support it. The Bride of Frankenstein, which had been slated for 2019 with Javier Bardem, was postponed indefinitely just 4 months after The Mummy's release. By late 2017, Kurtzman and Morgan had both walked away from their roles overseeing the franchise. By January 2019, Universal officially scrapped the Dark Universe entirely.
But I know it's going to be great for an audience.
Kurtzman has since called The Mummy the biggest failure of his life, both personally and professionally. In interviews years later, he described the production as brutal and attributed the problems to having too many cooks in the kitchen. He also acknowledged that the experience fundamentally changed how he approached directing, saying he didn't truly become a director until he made that film. But the real story of The Mummy's legacy isn't about what it destroyed. It's about what it accidentally created. After the Dark Universe collapsed, Universal pivoted hard. Instead of big-budget, star-driven spectacles designed to interconnect, the studio partnered with Blumhouse Productions and started making smaller, standalone monster movies. The first film under this new approach was 2020's The Invisible Man. Directed by Leigh Whannell and starring Elizabeth Moss. It was made for $7 million. It earned $144 million worldwide. It received a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was everything The Mummy wasn't. Focused, contained, genuinely scary, and driven by a filmmaker's vision rather than a corporate mandate. That $7 million film validated what a $345 million production could not. Universal's monsters didn't need billion-dollar budgets and A-list ensembles. They needed good stories, strong direction, and the freedom to be what they actually were: horror films. Since then, Universal has continued this approach with varying degrees of success. Films like Renfield and Wolfman have kept the classic monsters alive on screen, each as its own thing, rather than a piece of some larger puzzle. And in a moment of perfect irony, the 1999 Brendan Fraser original, the film Universal tried so hard to replace, has only grown more beloved over time. Its 25th anniversary re-release in 2024 drew audiences back to theaters, and Fraser himself won an Academy Award in 2023 for The Whale, capping one of the most remarkable career comebacks in Hollywood history. A fourth film in the Fraser Mummy series, reuniting him with Rachel Weisz, is now set for 2028. The Mummy didn't just fail as a movie, it failed as the foundation for an entire studio strategy. But in doing so, it forced Universal to rethink everything. And that reset ended up producing better films than the Dark Universe ever would have. Sometimes, the biggest disasters lead to the clearest lessons. And the lesson here was simple. You don't build a universe by announcing one. You build it by making something people actually want to watch.